So this is a weird one because it is a November and December monthly report, but also CIG released it weirdly early this time, so we're doing it here on Wednesday. As always, we're going to go through the monthly report of all development that's been going on. Well, all development that CIG will tell us about that's been going on in November and December, which means probably things like crafting, some of the new events and content coming up in 2026, whatever new ships are going on, economy stuff, narrative, all that jazz. As always, we're going to go through mostly the gameplay focused stuff first, then we'll loop back and we're going to re-record for the ship section. Thanks for coming. If you're here live, feel free to ask questions. We'll be chatting the whole time. If you're watching this after the fact, we'll cut all the chat out. But if you want to ask more live questions about this sort of stuff, come join us on stream. It's good times. AI content closed out the year working towards the Alpha 4.5 release with the addition of Nyx. The team revisited the social behaviors in Levski to ensure they were utilizing all the usables available to them. You know, the social behaviors like cowering and fear. They also implemented new Nyx-specific voice packs representing a new approach to ambient dynamic conversations. While the initial sets were designed to be used anywhere, the team is developing targeted voice packs so that the conversations provide a unique narrative experience depending on the location. AI content also worked alongside the mission team to support the setup of new mission reps and story-based content for upcoming releases. This is important because it's key to remember this is a November monthly report. So some of the stuff we're going to hear about here is stuff that was done for 4.5. So basically when you hear these details, think of them as anything that has been shown in Nyx is valid to be in this report. This stuff was mostly 4.5 where we saw the new conversational things coming in. Obviously 4.6 isn't live yet, so we haven't gotten to explore as much. But I personally think they've done a lot better at getting some conversations with information into the game. Continuing on to AI tech and features. Throughout November and December, AI tech and features worked on the Valakar, improving its ability to utilize submerged positions while avoiding hills. I would love if they could get the adult Valakar to... You guys remember what we were supposed to be fighting Valakar-wise? This battle? You remember this? Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they're still working on the Valakar. We've gotten one version of it, but I do hope that when they say stuff like this, like they're working on the Valakar, they're getting it more to the point where it's a dynamic thing that shows up on planets like what was originally planned, as opposed to just a boss battle at the end of a dungeon raid. Continuing on, they said that they've also unrotted the chase target behavior and removed the movement hearing filter concept. The Valakar can now also attack inanimate objects. Oh, so you can trick it with a rock. Furthermore, new placeholder behaviors were implemented and further developed. For the creature pipeline, known as... Get the f*** out, dude. Star Paws? Star Paws? CIG has this thing of naming everything with star before it, and it started out as a joke, but now we've got like Star Engine, Starware, Star Paws, Star Planet, Star Kitten. Our crafting gameplay is probably going to be StarCraft. We'll get Starbase at some point. Honestly, I'm thinking that the character customizer should be called Starmie. But yeah, this is ridiculous. Star Paws for the creature pipeline. Oh my god, CIG. Work was done on the AI-triggered actor state. Radial informations were ported from Squadron 42 and the AI skill extender was refactored and renamed AI motive. The team also added a health lost this phase boss motive condition. Updates were then made to the anti-personnel turret, with the devs fixing an issue that caused the guns to fire above the target's head. They had stormtroopers as turrets. Numerous missing hints were added to subsumption activity tasks, while general bug fixing was done across the board, including the navigational links and traversal behaviors. We've talked about navigational links a lot. This is like NPCs taking ladders, using doors, going on elevators, stuff like that. Them getting into and out of different compartments of the space and the level. AI planetary navigation improvements were made to allow easier changes to physics terrain patch resolution. Although currently only available on the Valakar, this update is planned for release in the Alpha 4.6 patch. Until we start seeing NPCs roaming around planets, broken down vehicles where NPCs are trying to fix stuff, like, we should be able to come across some folks who are in like an Ursa putting out a help beacon, and literally they just need you to like repair their wheel or something. It's not crazy, but that's life, you know? And we're missing so much of that on these planets and moons. So until we get an actual eyes on that NPCs or vehicles or even ships are doing something in this game other than sitting around in their same place all the time, I'm gonna keep mentioning it, passing it over this and mentioning it in hopes that it does happen, because we need more life. AI on the Game Intelligence Development Team. In November and December, the Game Intelligence Development, or GID, team mostly worked towards the next milestone for Mission System V2. Love to hear some mention of this. This involved prototyping validation before MVP fine-tuning. Prototype validation. Okay, so they're still prototyping. The next step was to integrate the UX script before building in the prototype infrastructure. The mission system dashboard prototype also received a visual update. So the new mission system is still at the prototyping phase. This, I think, is probably what we are stuck behind before we can get missions where they share rewards properly, and we can get contracts that make sense to run as groups without hurting you for running it as a group. I was hoping this would be a first half of this year kind of thing, but if they're a prototype, I don't even know if this is a second half of this year thing. I don't think this is the kind of thing they can hold off on longer than this year, but we'll see what... No, they gotta get Mission System V2 in. This is the kind of thing that I think is absolutely necessary to get in before they get their rush of Squadron 42 players. And as we've talked about already recently, the Squadron 42 rush is not going to happen when Squadron releases. It's going to happen when Squadron starts marketing. And it does not sound like this is going to be ready for that. I hope that they're closer to an MVP than they are to a prototype. But we'll have to see. I guess maybe that it does sound like it could be a second half of this year kind of thing, but usually when their UI isn't getting polished, I'm not really expecting it anytime in the next few updates. I hope it is though. In addition, the team worked on a reactive expression prototype, specifically the design and visual interface with icons for each category. This will be the base template for other tools that enable the designers to easily create triggerable expressions. That sounds like the kind of thing we need in an inventory. Git also supported the integration of Tiny Machine into the StarScript UX, which will allow the tools to use the same visual language, StarScript being our subsumption. Y'all remember subsumption. As usual, bugs were fixed and StarScript features were developed as suggested by the game designers. Cool. Okay. Animation. November saw facial animation back on set for their final performance capture shoot. Their performance capture suit of the year alongside the narrative team. They captured content for 2 new characters alongside 2 new voice packs that will populate the NPCs found in the Nyx system. Offset, they completed animation tasks for ArcCorp's Ella Tieno, who players will be able to see during comms calls. Okay, so I believe Ella is the same mission giver that ArcCorp had for Resource Rush, so she's coming back. Going into December, the team began processing the content captured in November, starting with one of the new named characters who will be seen in an upcoming release. I think that's a Shubin Interstellar mission giver. On the gameplay side, the animators worked towards finalizing the Spec Ops AI combat set as well as 2 other human sets. Progress was also made on melee and mechanized enemy types. Mechanized? Oh, probably like people in Icties? That'd be a good boss fight. Player swimming and navigation, new weapon animations, and creature improvements for the Copion type enemy were also worked on. Development continued on the background life AI as well. Love some background life. Art from the characters. The character art team closed out the year by finalizing event rewards and promotion items while progressing with new gangs for 2026. The concept art team began exploring ideas for the new armors and finalized handoff sheets for subscriber flare items. We're going to skip over ships for this month. Community, we love the community. Super appreciate you guys. These are cool. To celebrate the system's arrival, they launched Star Citizen's first ever Twitch drops. They also partnered with CLX Gaming to give away custom PC, which was built during a live stream alongside its twin. together forming a panoramic tribute to Nyx, with one half inspired by Levski, the other by the Vandal. Yeah, they look kind of cool. All right, core gameplay. This is where the good stuff comes out. Let's see what happened. During November and December, the core gameplay team supported multiple releases, progressed towards the release of a variety of features, and supported the remaining development team across multiple initiatives. Come on now. For Alpha 4.4, the team collaborated on the release of the Boom Tube rocket launcher and fixed various weapon-related issues. As part of the ongoing initiative to significantly improve weapon handling, a variety of changes were made to tighten up weapon feel, such as ADS control, and expose more controls to the designers. Engineering gameplay went through multiple tech preview publishes and was ultimately released in its first iteration in Alpha 4.5. This included an extensive list of changes based on internal and external feedback. For example, MFDs will now enter an emergency state instead of turning off when out of power. The devs updated the relay behavior to no longer break the resource network when fuses are destroyed, but instead limit the effectiveness of connected items. I'm sorry, that's a change they made in 4.5? I genuinely thought that was a change they made from feedback over the last 18 months of us testing this, but okay, last minute changes, sure. The automatic reassignment of power pips is now optional via the game options, so that by default players have to first unassign power to reassign it. Okay, that's a good call. That's a good call. Ship light states were also tweaked for better audio and visual feedback during emergencies. The first version of ship armor and life support was also implemented, providing multi-crew support gameplay with additional dynamism and depth. Alongside player experience, core gameplay identified critical feedback that was either addressed in time for the Alpha 4.5 release or has been added to a future iteration of engineering. The team said, "We're thankful for the feedback provided by the community." You know, they got a lot of feedback. Getting engineering released was no small feat, toes. And seeing players really push the system to its limits has exposed areas of the feature that needed more refinement. We're looking forward to improving the feature over the next few releases. They've got a lot of work to do on engineering. As somebody who has stated multiple times it's going to change everything, I still think that it's the balancing that's going to make that true right now. You can see it, and to some extent you can feel it. It's just, it's not quite there. And I'll be quite honest with you, I think this was CIG's chance to prove that they could make fun gameplay straight away and drop it in. Because most of the gameplay they've made thus far, from FPS to mining to salvage to now engineering, I feel like has been great starting points for the gameplay, but every single one of them still feels like they're kind of missing some stuff. And some of that stuff is like stuff from the other parts of the game. Crafting obviously is missing for mining to feel better, but I still think that it's not quite complete, and they need to really show that they can launch something complete. It'd be nice to see that before Squadron. The first iteration of ship armor, we talked about this and what the team had to say. Throughout November and December, the team progressed its next major feature. Here we go. Okay, now we're talking about new stuff. Crafting. Progressing to tech preview readiness, which enabled a limited round of Evocati testing conducted yesterday. They just put this in, they got that updated. The initial preview included the core loop of creating various items and adjusting their stats based on material quality. Additional recent work on the feature includes shop support for material quality and the ability to sell partially full or mixed containers. So in the tech preview, we actually get partially mixed boxes now. Every box has both a quantity or like a how much is it filled level. So you can have a box that's half an SCU filled. It can also have a quality level. Now, I don't know if you can mix materials. I doubt it, but that already makes every cargo box even more distinct and unique. Progress was also made on the main crafting UI. Just to be clear, the crafting test right now for Star Citizen is going on, or has been going on, and we can now create things in-game using materials that have quality levels and need to be combined to make the best materials. I'm seeing 9 to 15+ % increases on different stats. Your rate of fire on certain guns is going up quickly. The crafting materials are definitely going to make a difference in Star Citizen. And now in the newest monthly report, they are acknowledging next steps. They are progressing on a queue screen, which I've actually seen in the test, They're selecting the delivery destination for crafted items. Right now, you can't send them to the crafting machine, only to your own inventory. They're going to be refunding materials, and functionality is going to be added to dismantle previously crafted items. I've seen that as well. They said at this stage, the core functionality is present. The devs are preparing to review player feedback before polishing the feature ahead of its eventual release. I think they're going to do this much like with engineering in the tech preview. I think crafting is coming to the rest of players pretty soon. This is something they can't test at scale, or they have to test at scale. They can't keep testing in Evocati because they have to test our ability to go get materials, to refine materials, to store materials, to craft with those things, to dismantle those crafted items, and then sell the materials or use them again. Every single one of those pieces needs player hands on it to make sure there's no big bugs, and you can't keep running 6-hour playtests on the preview channel to get those feedbacks. So I think they're just trying to test right now to see if things work, and then they are going to get us the actual PTU sometime probably in the next month, maybe 2. We'll see. Oh, something that's interesting to note also is that for crafting, commodities come in CSCU, so micro SCU amounts of cargo. But FPS minables come in units. So 2 units of aphorite, 4 SCU of iron. And they're differentiating between how a FPS mineable is considered and a commodity is considered. So you can see that it's not like you're going to just be able to go out on Orion, get all of the minerals, and craft all the things. At the end of the day, to be the best, you will still have to go and get an FPS gun, go down to a cave, and mine some basic gems. So I think it's nice. That's a nice touch. I want ships to be able to also interact with FPS minables, but at the same time, I like that it's requiring things besides just nice big ships. For the flight gameplay, the team continued their efforts towards the improved flight model, including various adjustments to control surfaces. This also included exposing more options to design to allow for more control over atmospheric flight behaviors. The team also continued their tasks for the command module used by the Drake Caterpillar and Ironclad. The first playable version of the feature was presented, showcasing seamless handover of the controls from the host ship to the command module and vice versa. This work also allowed them to address various docking-related issues and improve debug tools. That's something I was hoping would happen, that they would be able to retouch on docking because they're working on the command module. Definitely needed. Toward the end of the year, time was dedicated to addressing issues with the existing transit and freight elevator system. MVP! Which were either reported by players using the issue council, the player experience team, or internal QA staff as major issues affecting various gameplay loops. Can confirm. Working with the QA team, core gameplay addressed bugs with very high reproductions or issues that had the tendency to manifest permanently. However, there are still many issues present that continue to be addressed. For the mission system, the designers now have the ability to specify conditional mission completions. For instance, Alpha 4.6 includes missions that can be completed by fulfilling one objective or an alternative objective. That's nice. Mission logic changes coming in specific patches is nice to see. Wonder what mission that's going to be. The team also investigated some of the root issues behind drop-off lockers that caused courier missions to be disabled. They also provided support for the various new missions and content deliverables, such as improvements to the progress tracker used for various events. Work continued on the inventory rework with internal reviews and bug hunting sessions. This is good. Internal reviews and bug hunting sessions is great to hear. Early steps were also established on capital ship refueling, leading to a task breakdown and refueling. So, 2 key features that I'm hoping we see in the first half of this year. The inventory rework is a big one that I was hoping we would get from the tech preview with crafting, and we're not seeing. That's a big surprise to me. I can't imagine this is very far behind. I really don't think that the crafting gameplay can make it to the live game without the inventory rework joining it. So I'm hoping we see a tech preview for this. I wouldn't say by the time we see the January monthly report, because that's probably in the next couple weeks, but by the end of February, I would be very worried if we hadn't seen the inventory in player hands yet. For ship refueling on capitals, this isn't something we need until we get to the joint task group, so we'll see what happens there. Finally, core gameplay delivered a feature-complete version of cockpit light amplification, which enables players to better see their surroundings in low light conditions. That's LAMP, coming in 4.6. Great touch, great addition. Going back up to the mission system stuff they talked about here, I wanted to touch on real quick. The team includes missions that can be completed by fulfilling one objective or another. conditional mission completions really speak to me in regards to this. These are some missions they talked about a while ago that were replacing missions. They were basically like if you were an old star veteran. One of my old cats in chat. Shout out to you guys. You great people. You probably remember the Gundo Covalix mission, the investigation. I think they actually took it out for 4.0, but up until 4.0, it was the best mission in Star Citizen, and it was for its entire existence, which dates back to 2018. So for 6 years, this mission was great. People loved it. You could finish it and you could fail it. You could get conditional like objectives. You could turn in some of the objectives and not find others. You would get different completion states in this mission. Like you'd get literally a different call from the woman that you're working for if you didn't get enough of the information. It was really good. And it was a great kind of like template for what people wanted to see from just general space missions, just like your average interesting platforming investigation mission. So back in 2022 at CitizenCon, they actually gave us a design brief about investigations. Now, design briefs are really, really early on explanations of stuff. To put into perspective, this is the engineering design brief, which we didn't get until this was March 2023. So if you go by that timeline, we should have gotten investigation missions by now, but that's just to give you context for like design briefs are early on kind of stuff. Regardless, they did this because they wanted us to have an idea of where they were going with this kind of gameplay. And it's pretty cool. And it sounds a lot like what they're saying in this monthly report. Listen here.
If you're smart, you'll go to that location. And should you go to that location and do a little searching, you'll find his body there and he's been like electrocuted, fixing the final thing on his list. And there's your definitive ending. Whereas the second pitch, it's more about allowing the player to choose when they're done, like when they think they have solved the mystery. And the way we do this is we scatter evidence around the location and clues that lead you to that evidence. And obviously there can be red herrings in there. You can get your like answer up to a credible state, which might still be the wrong answer but you can complete the mission then. Whereas if you'd have carried on digging a little more, maybe found a few more clues and followed them, you would perhaps find an indisputable piece of evidence, like, you know, I did it kind of thing, that would get you like the bonus for the mission. And both pitches had their strengths and weaknesses. The simple pitch, we could see like how easy it was to scale, and it involved less complex narrative work. But we ultimately decided to go for the second because we liked the idea of giving the player the agency to decide when they were done.
Yeah. Okay, so that kind of lays out where they want to go with the investigation missions, which does sound a lot like that Gundo mission we used to have. But clearly they got put on the back burner. They got left aside because the mission system wasn't ready for it. The contract manager clearly wasn't ready for it. I'm guessing they didn't have enough factions and members and people in it. And probably the team couldn't work on the missions enough in Star Citizen as it was. We didn't even start getting new missions till last year. Now we're seeing mining missions come in. Salvage missions have been improved. We've got engineering missions. Combat missions are starting to go up more. Narrative missions are happening. I could see investigation missions being a kind of thing that they'd slip in at some point. Maybe not this year. But I think this is getting rid of a huge roadblock to making those a thing. All right, let's move on to economy. Based on community feedback, the economy team overhauled Wickelow's rewards. Everybody's favorite. Most recipes now require fewer of each ingredient. Some items were redistributed into the loot pool, and the Idris and Wolf were added as rewards over the holiday period. The commodity price boost generated a wide range of feedback, with the strongest responses tied to the increased profitability of previously undervalued free trade resources. I didn't get to do enough of this to have a good opinion of it, unfortunately. I do feel like I need to get more hands-on with the gameplay stuff that's happening as it happens, instead of just reading about it and talking with you guys about it here. I don't know what the problem is with them or what the feedback has been. These insights are already being factored into future balance adjustments, though. Contested zones also received a few new vehicles as possible drops. I'm glad that they are working on this sort of semi-dynamic changes to the economy and stuff. The team spent time in December on the Nix social station that will populate the system with safe trading zones and economic incentives. Love economic incentives, but not much about dynamic economy work still. The devs are also looking into vehicle ballistic weapons to give them proper caliber designations and operational costs associated with their size and type. We know that StarSim's supposed to be getting worked on, but nothing yet still. Mission design ended the year focusing on quality of life fixes for 4.5, alongside bringing the derelict space station missions back to Stanton. What? Are there derelict space station missions in Stanton? I'm confused. Did I miss that? All right, narrative time. Oh, we got Rockcracker showing up here. What do they got to say about narrative Rockcracker? The end of the year was a busy time for the narrative team as they worked towards the momentous release of Star Citizen's third system, Nyx. A complex undertaking, the team wrote dozens of new missions, helped bring the new Shattered Blade Outlaw faction to life, and oversaw the return of some classic character, Stilevsky. Additionally, the team supported the new content shown at IAE and the introduction of system-to-system hauling missions. In December, the team focused on setting themselves up for success in the new year with the PTU launch of 4.6. The team also wrote several NPC scripts in support of upcoming gameplay mechanics and missions. 2956 is going to be an exciting year in the Empire, they said. Not a single mention about Rockcracker. They're just putting pictures of this stuff. I don't know if this is Rockcracker 2, but this definitely is. Last month, the online services team shared an internal tech demo, demonstrating what will be coming with item recovery tier 1. With this, they were able to properly establish the priority needs of the downstream teams. Okay, so we're closing in on item recovery tier 1. Work also continued on instancing, with the instance manager working as the cornerstone to validate the feature's inner workings. The live tools team successfully launched the new error reporting pipeline. Development of the web app tool continued, with the team expanding its scope beyond the initial crash ownership rules functionality. The tool will now incorporate additional capabilities to automate ticket assignment workflows, replacing existing manual and difficult to maintain processes for routing tickets to users. The audit logs feature for Hex is now live in production 2, providing enhanced tracking and monitoring capabilities for the team. Item recovery tier 1 basically means that you're going to be able to lose all the things you have once again. It's going to go back from you keeping everything that's on your body when you die. But if you registered the things that you have, you'll be able to get them back as soon as you die. So when you wake up, you'll wake up without your stuff. And that stuff will be left. And it can be looted, it can be found, it can be retrieved, whatever. You can go back and get it if you want. But in your hangar or wherever you respawn, there should be a button you can press that gives you back all the stuff that you already had for a price, for a certain amount of materials from crafting, for whatever it is, I don't know. But the idea is basically they're going to make it easy for you to get your stuff back because you have chosen to register it and pay for what is essentially the future of insurance. But you'll be able to lose it still. R&D. In November, the R&D team's PU focus remained on optimization. Texture streaming support was added for volumetric clouds and ground fog, including support for streaming 3D volume textures. Various optimizations were done to allow the inclining of C++ lambdas and to prevent allocations in situations where they must be captured as functions. This, among others, improves the runtime of IFCS thruster updates, subsumption and mission updates, and item resource generation and consumption. That's good, dude. Anything that can optimize the ability for the game to actually run better is really good. I'm glad that they still put so much into R&D. Read access to voxel trees can now be made concurrently, which helps with CPU gas cloud reads for radiation volumes, atmospheric flight data, door hazard state updates, and more. Also, lowercase CRC32 computations were optimized significantly. You better f***ing believe it. Threading-related OS calls, overheads were removed when updating vehicle parts and when checking for active impacts and damaged maps. Don't ask me to explain. Overheads in evaluating AI tactical queries were fixed, while the refactor of gas cloud light updates to remove the need for temporary memory allocations and significantly optimize CPU processing costs was brought to the PU. When I read this fast enough, I just feel like Tony Z. I'm just saying things. In December, more code was optimized for both projects. Among other things, context capture for immediately executed lambdas in various systems was improved to avoid unnecessary allocations. Priority and deferred action queues were cleaned up and optimized to allow directly emplacing past lambdas and to avoid unnecessary temporary copies. Entity classes are now also stored more compactly in the registry and allow for more efficient lookups. AI local variables no longer cause excessive allocations and locking costs. The time splicing of monitored zone updates, mission updates, is now handled more efficiently. Finding the closest shadow region node is now executed more efficiently, and work is also underway to speed up projected decal rendering, saving interpolators. Ah, the interpolators. This action saves interpolators. And that is the monthly report of November-December. Like I said, like I guess I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, this was a catch-up. It was 2 months of information, and it had some interesting information in it. Some stuff about crafting and upcoming features, but for the most part, this was about the stuff that we've already seen coming into the game. So, not as exciting a monthly report, but it had some insight. Either way, I usually these reports don't get that big until like March. February 1 is usually okay, but it's when you start hitting like March and April monthly report because they're preparing for the drops around the Invictus Week patch. Ooh, and things are getting interesting.